möchte da lang nichts mehr sehen natürlich. Aber toll, ohne Sonnenbrille. Let's go over to the table. Loads of microphones for you up here. So, wenn wir hier durchkommen dürfen, danke.
Bitte sehr, er kann nicht sehen, also wenn man jetzt nochmal blitzt. Also bitte jetzt aufhören zu blitzen, dann können wir die Fragen stellen. Vielen Dank dafür erstmal.
If you would like to ask your questions, you've got half an hour to do that now. And who would like to ask the first question, please? Wer möchte zuerst was fragen? Super, hier vorne.
Probably you could tell us about your new show.
About my new
Show.
Well, that's still a little ways off, love. You know, I've got a new band that I put together, and but we haven't even got to the rehearsal stage yet. So, because I'm doing a promotional tour of Europe, you see. So, of course, I'll be adding a few of the new songs into the set, but I'll still be doing what I'm traditionally known for. You know, like "You Are So Beautiful" and "Feeling All Right," those kind of songs.
Yeah, but I thought the next tour will be with a new show. There are no plans?
Well, it's new in the respect I've got some new musicians in the band, and a new girl singer, and we've got a different set, and we'll be moving things around, but, you know, I mean, it's basically a Joe Cocker show.
Es wäre ganz schön, wenn man auch sagt, wer man ist und für wen man arbeitet, schreibt, oder wenn man beim Hörfunksender ist, dass man das vielleicht kurz erwähnt. Das macht das alles ein bisschen freundlicher, persönlicher, das habe ich vergessen eben zu sagen. Also, wer als nächstes dran ist, muss sagen, ich bin und arbeite für. Wer möchte das jetzt machen? Hier vorne bitte, ja. This guy down front here, to the right, Joe.
Ich bin Jens-Peter Paul and I'm working for the Hessische Rundfunk in Franklin. And how far your German fans are different from other people in Europe or in the US or so?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's pretty well known that I've mentioned to people that the German audience are my favourite, fans. They get into the music in a different way. I mean, you know, you can go to like Holland and people will sing the songs with you. In France, they kind of listen in a certain way. But the German fans have always been right on, you know, they kind of get into the spirit with me. And it's been going on a long time. I enjoy it.
Da hinten, du arbeitest mit uns zusammen. Also, ja. Hast du vielleicht auch eine Frage? Könnte auch sein.
Genau, das habe ich gemeldet. Günther Schneiderin, Südwestfunk Stuttgart. Something about the selection of cover songs. Each and every album got cover songs. How does it work, the selection? Is it that you ask for them, that composers offer their compositions, or is it that you ask the composers, or do you have some advisors who tell you you should do this or that?
Good point, because there's no set routine to it. I mean, like in a case of First We Take Manhattan, I've always liked Jennifer Warren's version of it. You know, Jennifer and I did a duet years back. And Leonard Cohen's song, I've done a few of the Leonard songs. And I remember just talking about it in passing. Almost made it to the last album. So, but with Steve Winwood's song, While You See a Chance, that my manager Roger Davis passed that on to me and suggested it was perhaps a good time to revamp it. You know, because I don't like to think of them just as cover versions. I'd still try and make them very personal. You know, I mean, some people will knock me for that I kind of just do copies of other people's stuff, but I mean, the fans I've got, I think, understand that I really try and remake them as my own, you know.
Yeah, in the middle.
Kustorkov is my name. I come from distant Bulgaria. Mr. Cocker, you're considered to be the only white, or at least the only European, who can sing like an Afro-American. Yeah. Have you consciously and on purpose worked on that style? Have you worked on that? Or is it just preconditioned naturally by your voice? Or is it both of them? And being on an ordinary tour, I sincerely wish you a no ordinary concert here in Berlin as well.
All right, thank you. No, the voice, I mean, apart from, you know, all the damage I've done to it over the years of smoking and drinking in clubs and stuff, that got a kind of a husky sound. And, you know, when I was younger, of course, I wanted to sing like Ray Charles, to the point that I used to mimic Ray, you know, as every kind of nuance. And then by about the late 60s, I thought I hope I've developed my own style after that. And the fact that I always loved, you know, black artists like Marvin Gaye, Stevie Wonder, and Ray, you know, is just something that subconsciously, I think, comes out in the way I sing too.
Yeah, lots of questions. Okay, we'll take this one in the back first. Da hinten erstmal bitte, ja.
My name is Alex Gabler from Antenne Thüringen. Is it strenuous for your vocal cords to sing like this?
Well, each time I go out on a tour, I always kind of wonder, you know, if I can, you know, survive 2 hours a night of belting it out. But you know, it's one of those things. It's I don't sing exactly like a tenor singer, but I sing in the same way that I sing from my diaphragm. So that sort of saves a lot of hammer on the vocal cords. But you know, I forget once in a while. I get excited, and I've been known to sort of knock my voice out just because I'll, you know, sing from the voice box, and it's something I try and correct. But you know, as I say, once in a while I just get a little carried away, and I have to watch out for that.
Good. Okay, here, please.
My name is Greg. I'm from Radio Berlin Actual. I have a question. The recent records are more laid back. I remember I saw you on your night golf tour. That was pretty rocky, up-tempo numbers, lots of speed, lots of power. And the latest records have been very laid back. So actually, have you lost the hunger for rock, or are you just laid back type now?
Well, I wouldn't say very laid back, you know. We kind of went for a bit of a cleaner sound on this new album, you know, a kind of brighter tone. And you might be right that the songs, you know, the producer mentioned to me, Stephen Power, he said, there's an element of your voice, Joe, that people don't hear very often, and I'd like to bring that out on this new album. But I think you'll find if you if you come to the live shows, I've just got a new band who are really kicking, and I mean they're going to keep me well on my toes, and they're rocking, man. So I don't think I've come to the stage of singing "Have You Ever Been Mellow" yet.
Sie hatten, glaube ich, hier vorne noch eine Frage. Ja.
Did Brian Adams write that song, She Believes in Me, especially for you? And when you were in the studio and you sang the backing vocals, were you together in the studio?
Well, this is kind of embarrassing but interesting, because Brian sent me that song. I was working in LA and he was working across town doing another album, and he sent me the song without the middle eight, you know, without the bridge part. So then we didn't talk at all. I told him I sent a message saying I like the song. He sent the finished version back to me, and to be quite honest, it wasn't till the drummer, I was just talking to the drummer, and I thought the producer who can sing, Pete Smith, I thought he'd put the little vocal line on, and it wasn't until I was talking to the drummer, he says, it says here that Brian Adams singing on your album. I'm like, okay, maybe I should do a bit of research, you know. So he obviously went in when I'd finished recording, and just put that little taste on, which is kind of nice. But I just didn't recognize his voice at first.
Okay, ich weiß, Sie haben eine zweite Frage, aber ich möchte dem Panel erstmal die Möglichkeit geben zu fragen. Ich komme auf Sie zurück. Ja, gut, da hinten bitte.
You just been on a tour and you made your album, and now you're on tour again. So when were your last holiday?
Well, actually, I've been off for 6 months, and I live up in Colorado. So I kind of live a strange existence that when I'm not in the studio, I mean, I've been recording this album for 5 months, but prior to that I took 6 months and just went fishing, and I have horses up there, you know, I'm doing a bit of riding, and I'm pretty good at doing nothing when I'm off the road, you know. So, but I kind of live more of like a daylight existence. When I come back on tour, I become like Dracula, I become like a night owl, but when I'm off the road, I'm a daylight person.
Ja, bitte.
I'm Robin Arnold from newspaper Volksstimme Magdeburg, and my question is, it was a long time successful. What do you mean, what is the secret of your success?
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, in Europe, the fans have been great to me. I mean, you know, it's well known that in the mid-70s, I went through what I call my dark period, you know, when things could have well ended for me right then. But the fans kind of stuck with me. And it's something very hard, I've never quite understood, but each time I go out, there's like there's a younger section of audience keep coming along. and it's like a growing thing, an ongoing thing, and it's something that it's always fascinated me, but I really don't know how to explain it.
She wants a drink, Joe, while we're sitting up here, and you've got enough water.
Yeah,
it's very warm up here.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, Joe gets something to drink. Wer möchte als Nächster jetzt was fragen? Hier vorne sind 2 Meldungen. Gut, fangen wir in der Mitte erstmal an.
What's your favorite song on the new album?
There's a song, because I've always been a ballad fan. Where was the lady who asked me?
In the middle here.
Oh, thank you. There's a song written by Tony Joe White and Michael McDonald called Where Would I Be Now, that I think was meant to go on Michael McDonald's last record, but somehow it never made it to that record. But I've always loved, deep ballads, and it seems like it's getting harder and harder to include ballads on albums. There's not much of an audience for them anymore.
What do you like? Why do you like this ballad?
I like the sentiment of it. It's just got, it's a really, because I'm 55, and when I ask writers to send me songs, they're usually, they're guys who write these days for boy bands and stuff, So that is kind of an adult song. That's what I kind of like about it, really.
Ja, hier vorne bitte.
I'm Werner Rupp from Pirmasens Zeitung and freelancer. Who are your personal favorites or musical highlights in pop history? You mentioned the R&B people, Marvin Gaye and so on. Do you have other favorites you're listening at home?
Yeah, these days, I used to love the band. I don't know if you remember the band with Rick Danko, yes, and Robbie Robertson. And Traffic were a great favourite of mine back then. Steve Winwood. Yeah, and Beatles, of course. I was a big Beatle fan.
Ja, Sie haben also auch einmal gefragt, Sie auch, wenn die zweite Frage kommt, gern wie hier. Wolltest du jetzt was fragen, Uli?
Wenn ich schon dran bin?
Ja,
gerne. Uli Knie from Hanover. And being from Hanover, I would like to ask you if you ever heard about the Expo 2000 taking place in Hanover next year. And would you be interested to go there?
You've caught me off guard, I really don't know.
I'll explain that to you later. So I work for them, so that's an internal thing. I'll explain it.
Another one.
Ja, hier vorne bitte.
Senator from the Senate, my radio station in London. You stopped smoking 5 years ago, I guess? How do you
6.
6, okay. How do you get along without any cigarettes? Is it better for your voice now?
It's a lot better for my voice, but it's, in the States, there are very few places you can smoke anymore. You see people out on the streets, looking very sheepish, and I'm kind of glad I quit when I did, because it's becoming very... I only have to come and just go into a pub in London or even in Germany, and it's amazing. Just breathe in a couple of times, and that's like a fix for lasts me for a year,
Sie hatten auch eine zweite Frage. Dann machen wir die zweite Frage hier, weil ich habe das versprochen. Das hat sich erledigt inzwischen. Gut, Sie sind jetzt dran.
You chose Robbie Williams, producer, Steve Power.
Yeah.
Were you into like that, or are you into Robbie Williams?
That's a good point. It was sort of hinted to me from the record company heads, and even from my manager, that it might be nice if I did a more kind of modern sounding album. And that's why Steve Powers was suggested to me. And it was a different way of going about making an album for me, because I've always been used to working with just musicians on the studio floor and picking like the best take and doing vocals. Working with Steve was like a whole different science of making an album. We started like from built the tracks up from scratch. Just adding music, adding instruments as we went along. And whether we succeeded in making a modern album, I don't know. It still sounds like a Joe Cocker album to me, but it does have a fresh kind of sound to it.
And you like Robbie Williams?
Yeah, he's a great singer, no doubt.
You can use the tissue if you want, Joe. It's
Thanks.
very hot up here.
Yeah.
Wir haben noch 10 Minuten, also wer jetzt überlegt, ob was fragen möchte, soll das jetzt schnell tun und dann doch die Frage stellen. Ich weiß nicht, ob ich mich trauen soll, um dich nochmal zu fragen. Wir kommen gleich zu dir, hier vorne, bitte.
You have been in music business for over 30 years now. That's a pretty long time. And when you look back onto your career from now, do you think you had to make a lot of compromises, or did you achieve exactly what you wanted to achieve?
You know, I mean, I've been lucky the fact that I'm an R&B singer, but I can kind of put myself in different places. But I mean, it hasn't come to the fact, I mean, I've survived disco, I've come through quite a few trends, and they haven't asked me to do a hip-hop record just yet. So, you know, I'm sorry that I got a little off beam with your actual question.
I wanted to know if you had the feeling that you made a lot of compromises in your career.
No, I mean, a few. You know, I think you have to survive, you know, with the eternal changes going on. But not, as I say, you know, the fact that I'm still basically singing R&B, I don't think I've made that many.
Wer hat jetzt noch eine Frage? Und jetzt ganz viele wieder. Okay, wir machen es mal hier weiter.
My name is Verena Schmidt, I'm the Associated Press here. I read in your notes that you...
Kannst du noch was sehen? Würde ich immer Bescheid sagen.
I'm always saying I'm going to quit at some stage. I used to say that maybe I'd reconsider what I'm doing when I got to the year 2000. So now we're here, I've got to say something. So it's like being 55, I thought maybe I'd rethink in about 5 years' time. But then there are so many other artists who are much older than me who are still enjoying performing, you know. And that's the thing, I mean, it's just the road can get a bit rough at times, you know, the eternal travel thing. And so like at the end of every tour, you kind of always go, maybe that's it, you know, it's you know, a lot of work. But then after 6 months of being home, I get the itch to be back on the stage again, you know.
Yeah.
You just
If down the left here, John.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Right. Meet you and say, hey Joe, do some us and sing some vocal lines to my years and years on my record. Would you do that? Would you join up with people who do like hip hop or disco or soul?
Well, no one's approached me, and you know they've actually lifted a few things of mine. Somebody borrowed the Scream from Little Help from My Friends that they put on it. I can't remember who now. And we also had a song Woman to Woman. They borrowed a few lines of that. So we have to keep an eye out for those people lifting that stuff. But no one's actually ever approached me. I mean, you know, you never know, do you? Until someone. I mean, if someone had a legitimate way of putting it to me, it might be you know, worth pursuing.
If you can sing with Pavarotti, you can sing with anybody, right?
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
So you were the star of Woodstock in '69. How do you feel about Woodstock right now? Could you make any comparison between the atmosphere of Woodstock then and Woodstock now? And how long is your present show going to last? How many minutes? We've got no idea about it.
Yeah, well, the Woodstock thing, I mean, I did the 25 years after too. And, you know, the most outstanding thing is you realize just what an enormous crowd it is to try and entertain, you know. And I was kind of very saddened at this latest 30-year, you know, which I don't see a point in having them every 5 years anyway, you know. But it seemed almost like it killed off what ever respect people had for the original, because, I mean, I think there were 5 rapes and they burnt all the equipment, you know, in the last Woodstock upstate New York. So, you know, as far as the symbolism of it being for peace, love and music, it's sort of gone down the drain, I think. I said I'd do the 50th anniversary if I ever see that far down the road, you know. And in regards to how long we'll be playing, the set's just under 2 hours. Yeah.
Okay, wir haben noch 5 Minuten. Ich sehe noch 2, 3 hier, aber gut. Zweite Chance.
Okay, serious one. Every time you go on tour and promote your new album and your new songs, isn't it for an artist like you sometimes a bit disappointing that the fans always react most to the old songs? With a little help from my friends, of course.
Yeah, I know a lot of artists like David Bowie, a few people who just won't entertain doing their hits as it is anymore. But it's never really bothered me. I mean, I understand why they, you know, get a buzz out of hearing Unchain My Heart. And I try and put the set together in such a way that it's entertaining for me. I mean, the songs that have survived all these years, I mean, are the strongest songs I've recorded, strangely enough, you know. Songs like Feeling Alright. So it's as I say, I kind of get off on it in a way that some artists don't, but it doesn't bother me that, you know.
Ich glaube, hier hinten war auch jemand, der noch nicht sieht, vielleicht da hinten, ja.
I didn't get it, man. Sorry.
The millennium, the year
millennium.
2000, does it mean anything to you?
I don't know. You know, I mean, because it's a bit scary with everything being. I mean, I can barely use a computer. You know, I just can just about deal with email, and here we are with all the techno pop on the surface. So I'm kind of a survivor, just coming into the new millennium, just hoping to keep my head above water, really.
What are you going to be doing on New Year's Eve, do you know?
We were going to play Stuttgart, that got cancelled. Then we've been talking about playing Atlanta, and I've heard no more about it. So if there's no gig, I'll just go home.
Ja, Sie bitte nochmal.
Most of people in Germany are your fans, and you give many concerts in Germany. My question, you speak a little bit German?
I'm so sorry. God, I know, I mean, people go, God, John, you've been coming here all these years. But I mean, ever since I've been coming to Germany, people around me have always spoken really good English. And I did have a few German girlfriends years ago, but they spoke good English too. So, I mean, there was never any real reason to, you know. And at school I took French and I was terrible at that. So I just haven't been able to adapt with languages, I'm sorry, but nein.
Okay, 2 or 3 more questions. 2 noch 3 Fragen vielleicht. Sie möchten nochmal, gibt es noch Leute, die eine Frage stellen möchten? Dann können wir das jetzt festlegen. Jetzt haben wir die Chance, die letzte Chance, wenn Sie sich melden wollen. Die 2 wieder. Okay, wir fangen erstmal nochmal hier an.
You said it's a personal battle to choose the cover songs. That's what it says in your intro. How do you go about it? Do you sit at home with your big record collection and listen to all the stuff, or why is it a battle?
No, well, I mean, you know, because I used to sort of always have like a backlog of ideas that, you know, I would sort of want to be doing, and then I've kind of run out of them. I've kind of, you know, so it's more or less each time I do an album now, I kind of just have to scratch the brain to think of, you know, what song is worth resurrecting.
Okay, I think we'll give you one last question, because you did put your hand up every time. That'll be the last question then.
Okay. In your life, many highlights and also bad times, sorry. No, you was a long time saxophone. Can you sweep better with success? Kann man das verstehen jetzt?
Basically, let's take the last part of the game. Do you sleep better now that you're successful? Let's put it that way.
Well, you know, it was a concerted effort. I mean, when I, you know, at the end of the 70s, when I first met my wife, I mean, it was one of those things where you know, I realized I just had to turn my life around. And but I didn't realize that the fans were so, you know, would stick with me as many years as they have done. So that, you know, that helps me sleep at night, to know that I've got a good fan base, you know.
Gut, ich denke, wir machen da Schluss. Vielen, vielen Dank, dass Sie hier waren, dass Sie Fragen gestellt haben. Ich sage noch mal ganz kurz, bevor ihr weg